I wanted to talk today about the Love and Light movement, or rather, I should say, the pseudo Love and Light movement, and how it's actually been spun and taken over from the ancient teaching of Love and Light to be a modern way, really, just to escape responsibility and just be another religion of its own, where it basically makes people feel good about being evil or allows people to do evil things and behave evil towards others, but in the end they can just say a word like namaste, or they can just blow a kiss and say, peace be with you, and leave rather than taking care of an affair. It's actually become quite an epidemic where people no longer take care of their issues. People have all these mantras they say, and they'll actually do evil by people, and they'll just sit at home and say a prayer and think it's okay, or they'll make a mess in someone else's house, or they'll engage and create a train wreck, but rather than cleaning it up and being actually responsible and actually having integrity and true honor, which was the way of the ancients, instead they believe that they have honor because they run from their messes, they run from experiences that challenge them. And I mean, that's the case in most situations, is most people run from the situations that challenge them, that force them to rise up to another level. It's no different than lifting a weight. It challenges you. It's work. It is kind of exhausting. It might bring out things in you that you really need to overcome. And if you're not willing to lift that weight, you're going to go no farther. That's it. You're done. So this modern Love and Light movement, you're seeing it all over the place. You're seeing it on Oprah. You're seeing it everywhere. That should be a sign that it's probably not the way to go. This world is in more darkness than ever. It's not getting lighter, it's getting darker. I understand that everyone would like to believe it's getting lighter, but it's getting darker. Okay, we're coming into a time of full war. As that comes, more and more things come around to pacify that spirit so that you don't survive. And one of the things that the Love and Light movement has done, this modern, and I will say very, very importantly, this isn't the true Love and Light movement. A true Love and Light movement is of balance, is of completion, is of integrating your light and your dark. If you're not integrating and you're not blending both aspects, you are not completing who you are supposed to be. There is a reason why we have shadow work to do. There is a reason why we have the full spectrum of emotions, and all of them are there for a reason. Just like all your parts are there for a reason when you're born, these things all have a function whether or not you understand them at the time. The unfortunate part is generally when we get here, we're naive. Largely, females. You have females and males both take to the Love and Light movement. Generally, females tend to take a lot more to it, and part of that is because females are much more water-based or more malleable. They largely take to the environment that they're raised in, and they like the idea of peace and harmony. The problem is you are a complete being with light and dark. You have the full spectrum of emotions. You have anger, you have hatred, you have love, you have peace, you have joy, you have sorrow, and all of those are there for a reason. Now, the minute that you limit an emotion, the minute that you don't allow yourself a certain emotion, now I'm not talking about being out of balance, I'm not talking about someone who beats their mate, I'm not talking about someone who's high as a kite and gets high every single day and has absolutely no control and needs to be on a high all the time just to feel good. What I'm talking about are the child that goes to reach for a burning thing and burns themselves. They continuously reach for it, they burn themselves. The parent gets angry and they show anger because they care. That's passion. To be all downtown and just, okay, you almost burned your hand, that's not right. It's natural. We are vril. We are creatures. Animals show a full range of emotions. They don't deny it. They don't try to run away from it. They're angry when they're angry. They're fearful when they're fearful. They're happy, sad, whatever, but they're all natural. They're not augmenting. They're not hiding from a certain emotion. They're not getting mad when they have that emotion. They're not getting mad at others when they have that emotion. And they're also not hiding from themselves. They're not taking drugs to feel highs and stuff, and then, that's a whole other problem in itself. A lot of the Love and Light culture actually do engage in a lot of drugs, and that's a huge problem too, because when you engage in drugs and become an addict, and if you're doing daily or weekly hits, you are a form of addict. I mean, that's very important. Those things were meant to be spiritual things, to be done, once a month, maybe a few times, even a month, if you're healing from something physical, that's, like, cannabis oil and the like. But actual, being drugged up and whatnot, that's a spiritual thing. That's a spiritual purpose. It's not a thing to be done daily, because you do become addicted to it. And then you really can't cope with real life properly. You then associate people that you get high with as your clan, or you get unnatural attachments to them. Like, you got high and you met this dude when you got high, and all of a sudden you're attached to them in a way you shouldn't be. They've already done tons of studies on this, that when people get high and then they see someone, they often end up with total assholes and total just absolute people that are bad for them, and they get attached to them, and they have a hard time breaking that attachment because they met them when they were high and were high together and thought they had this magical experience when it was just augmented by drugs. Then they meet real people in life or have real experiences, and they're so much downtone compared because they didn't smoke a joint with them, and then they wonder why they're so attached to the friends that they get high with all the time. That's the reason why, is you have an unnatural augmentation. You're getting high all the time with them, so you don't even know what it is to be normal anymore. And now when real life comes along and you have natural sorrow and natural anger, or you're forced to face yourself, most addicts can't do the work because they have an unnatural high as a kite all the time, or unnatural happiness that's not really appropriate, and then all of a sudden they say they feel sad. They feel sad inside because now they have to see the truth. What it is you're actually being forced to be sober-minded for once, and you're actually being forced to face yourself rather than run. And that's a huge concept to talk about. It's very important, But this whole pseudo love and light thing has been completely co-opted. When you say you can't be angry at all, you're totally limiting yourself. You're totally limiting your expression. Completely, because all of those emotions are expressions of who you are. I mean, truly. It's an expression that you're supposed to have, and it's an expression that's there if you need it. You will never be complete, nor will you be able to handle, and you'll never master the expression if you block out a whole expression of who you are. They're all there for a reason. And they're all there for whatever you need to come across. You shouldn't be happy and you shouldn't be at peace when someone goes to rape you. I mean, I have a huge concern with just how badly the love and light movement has brainwashed everyone. So much so that I literally have had to get into probably at least a dozen disagreements with women who believe that they should be at peace with their rapist, and that they should allow themselves to be raped, and that, they should forgive their rapist, yet the person that'll come and tell them the truth to their face, they'll hate for life and not talk to. Yet they don't believe in fighting the rapist because that would make them evil. That's ridiculous. What animal do you see that allows itself to be attacked and doesn't fight? Animals are natural. You're being programmed, you're being brainwashed on a daily basis. You need to look to the animals and be wizened because they're natural. You, most likely, are probably not. And if you are, you're one of the few who understands exactly what I'm saying and wishes for everyone else to wake up and stop being a stupid drone. We need you on the real love and light team, which is a team of balance, which is a team of love, light, and real integration of our poles. Meaning you can handle all the waves, you can handle light, you can handle darkness, you can handle going deep. Because guess what? If you can't handle the darkness, and you can't handle the negativity of things or understanding the truth of things, you will never go deep. You will stay shallow. You'll have to stay by the light and you'll stay in the shallows. That's it. You will never go to the depths, you will never learn true knowledge, true wisdom, and you will never even learn the true potential of who you are. This is the whole point. The whole point is your potential. The whole point is you becoming a true and realized human being. And the whole point is you becoming actualized and being complete. If you want to swim in the shallows, you'll swim in the shallows. You'll deny yourself your complete expression. You'll never go any further than your typical experience. Your day will largely be a loop. You'll do the same things over and over, and you'll get to the same points over and over, and you'll run the other way. Yet you'll wish for something more, and you'll look for something more, and you'll never get to it because that something more is you delving deeper into yourself and getting to something more. That takes work. It often is painful. It's transformation. There's nothing really that comes easily, realistically. Whenever anything's transformed in cooking, it gets boiled, it gets cooked, it's no longer the same substance. You will become a new person. But in order to become a new person, you do have to be tempered in the fire. There's really no other way around it. Most of us, are like swords. Human beings are like swords. And we're mind-based creatures, and we're largely formed in the fire when we're young. And so we largely take on the traits, and we take on the fears and the horrors and the negativities and the failings or faults, you could say, of what we're raised in, much like our soil. It is our nurturing soil. But you can't stay there forever. You know, a child may want to stay in the crib forever, you know, but you do have to kick them out and help them to grow, even if they cry and even if they get upset, you know, because one day they'll thank you, and, you know, it needs to be done no matter what. You know, who loves that man enough to save them? Who loves that man enough to be hated to tell them the truth for once? You know, and it's not about whether people hate us or not. It's unfortunate when we tell people truths they don't want to hear that they'll hate us. It's unfortunate that people will turn their backs on people who've helped them for a lifetime. You know, it's unfortunate that people will refuse to go to the depths, will refuse to see the truths, and run to drugs, alcohol, or other substances, or people that really don't care about them properly instead. But, you know, they have to choose whether or not they want to go to the depths. They have to choose whether or not they want to do the work, you know. I mean, we're swords. What I was saying about the swords is, you know, we're formed, and the way a sword is formed is it's, you know, formed in the fire. If it gets tempered wrong, which many of us did, unfortunately, you do have to put it back in the fire and reshape it. If it doesn't go back in the fire, specifically, then you don't get a retempering, you just get the same sword. And a lot of us, we have to go back in the fire. We have to reintegrate ourselves in the lost part of ourselves. We have to, you know, for instance, if you're abused or beaten or, you know, molested, things like that, you know, you gain certain ideas, you gain certain aspects on how you treat others, you know, and perhaps it's time to look at how you're treating others and see, perhaps you now treat all men like they're an asshole. Perhaps you treat them like shit and you just think you're being wronged when you're actually treating them like disposable things. You know, we have to look at our own actions and see what the events of our childhood have made us into. You know, perhaps, you know, you're using people, perhaps you're not appreciating the people who are around you. You know, you can't go throughout life saying, I'm just a man-hater for life. You can't go throughout life taking people that have helped you and kicking them in the teeth, either lying about them, distorting things. You know, you can't continue bad habits if you want to grow. You know, you have to eventually, unfortunately, and fortunately, you have to take your life within your own hands and say, this is enough. You know, I'm an adult now, and I have to make my way, and I have to heal the damage that's been done to me as best as I can, and I do have to take responsibility for my actions. You know, like I have tons of people, you know, they were abused, molested, and whatnot, and they've slept with dozens upon dozens of people as a result. Many become prostitutes, many become this, and they always, you know, use their childhood as a result. And it's true, it does set a bad tone, but you eventually have to, you know, when someone calls you out and says, you know, you've basically become a whore in many senses, you know, that's way too many people to sleep with, you know, or you're being cold and unattached from your feelings and someone calls it out, you have to admit that that's the truth. And you have to understand it. And you have to understand when you're treating like someone like shit and they're in touch with their feelings and they get angry with you, that there's a reason for it. They're probably in touch with their emotions and not afraid to express them properly. You know, and as long as they're expressing them properly, you know, if someone tells you off and tells you you're full of shit, well, that's natural and that should be done. You know, if someone is doing something wrong, someone's going off a cliff, someone's drugging themselves to death, someone is being foolish unto death, if I come across someone and I approach them and I basically bitch them out for it because I care and I'm showing passion, I expect that person to be a real human being and understand why that anger is there and understand it as well, that it's actual care and love that no one else has shown them. That's so important, you know. So that was a point that I wanted to get across too. You know, and this love and light movement, what I wanted to say about it is that I have seen so many people, you know, with this love and light movement, it just really involves their ego. You know, they're the ones that are using the hashtags for themselves that say hashtag love, hashtag loyalty, hashtag honor. That's not even natural. You know, when I speak with my name, I don't tell you love, loyalty, and honor and stuff. I talk about those things and whatnot, and I might be an exemplification of them. But I'm not going to put those things with myself because that's not appropriate. It's just going to be, here's the truth. Here's what I've discovered in my journeys. Here's knowledge to help you on your way too. You know, that's it. You know, I don't care if I'm you know, saving every single animal in the world. It's just what I do. You know, people will see it by my action. You know, you don't talk about those things. You know, and I've noticed that tons of people with the love and light movement use it as an ego boost. As a way of saying basically, without saying it, and without them maybe even realizing it, they're basically setting up a thing that they're better than other people, you know, hashtag love, hashtag loyalty. I mean, that's kind of the height of, like, ego, and that's kind of the height of, you know, talking up yourself, and, you know, most people don't see it, but it is. You know, you don't talk about yourself and say, I'm so loyal, and I'm so this and that. You just are, and your actions show it. To say it means that there's a doubt there, or there's a trap going on, or you need to say it because you yourself doubt it somewhere subconsciously, and that's why you use it all the time. It really does. So this love and light movement that people follow today, I've seen them screw people over. I've seen a lot of these love and light followers act like it's okay, to do a lot of dickhead things. And rather than making peace with them, like actually sitting around and doing the work, they flit around from thing to thing like a tumbleweed. Like they don't stick around in anything. And and the problem is this love and light movement has given them a religion, just like any religion does. This is the thing. Religion, generally allows people to do what they want when they want. Like if I established a religion that said it was okay now to shoot kids, tons of people that had been waiting for it will now shoot their kids because they've been waiting for something that condones it. Well, the love and light movement now basically says, this modern one basically is about, don't stick around if something's tough, if something comes that challenges you, or blah, 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 or this or that. It's basically talking about running from it. If you feel uncomfortable at all, and people misinterpret this, uncomfortable at all, or if, someone makes you sad, leave. Well, if someone makes you sad, normally that sadness is stemming from the fact you're sad. Why are you really sad? Like, what is it? Did they have truth they said that made you sad? What is it that really makes you sad about it? Do you really love that person and that's what made you sad? Do they say things that hit a nerve and that's what makes you sad? You need to go to the depths of this, but instead they're just like, nope, makes me sad, gotta go. And I mean, I've even talked to these people personally before, one that was really close that did this very same thing, does the hashtags, does everything else, and actually screwed me over more than any person ever has in my life, and I'm the least deserving of all of that. Out of her. It's completely unacceptable. And, over a year later, still has not bothered to make peace. That's not love and light, by any means. That's someone who's stuck in hatred and evil and hard-heartedness. There's no doubt about that. They can act like they're love and light. They can act like they're trying to live out of love and light. And, oh, it's the best for me and whatnot, but that's just an excuse. That's just a cop-out to run and be evil. That's all that is. That's a new religion for them, so they're okay with their evil. And I mean, that's actually what prompted me to do this, I was moved to do this and told to do this, to let others know that there are people out there that understand what's going on with this love and light movement, and there are other people who understand exactly what's up, and to let those that are following this love and light movement know exactly where the pitfalls are, and to maybe take a hard look at themselves and see how they're operating in this movement, if they're using it. If you get into an argument with someone and instead of staying and trying to make up and trying to make peace on it, which is, trying to, do that, or you get mad at someone because they showed anger, and as far as anger, they told you off about some bullshit you're doing, like you're a druggie and they told you you're a basic druggie, or you're cold and heartless and unattached feeling, and you're being cruel. You're like warm 1 minute, cold the next, and you're doing actions that indicate warmth and then actions that indicate cold, and for a real person that's insane, to have someone who's on and off like that, and they tell you off and they show anger when they tell you off, as far as they're like shouting at you because, you did bullshit, and you just act like that's not okay because you're all love and light. No, you shouted at me because, you found out I'm a chronic druggie and I'm going off a cliff, or you shouted at me because this or that. Shouting is fine. There's times for shouting. It's when people get angry, it's an expression. If people aren't physically hitting you or banging you around or something, and they're shouting to let you know you're full of shit, or they're just talking forcefully, which is most of the cases, people in love and light movement say, you're shouting at me, someone just talked forcefully, and we're like, hey, you need to stop doing this, you're doing that, you're ruining your own life. That's not shouting. That's speaking. But, this whole blowed up thing, gets blown up by people. Mostly because they want to run and they want an excuse to run. Now, what I was going to say is the concept that now they'll either run from real experiences, they'll run from actual expression of things, they'll run from real people, they won't stick it out. Like look at the divorce rate today. It's like over 50%. Most people don't stick it out. Most people are getting divorced left and right. Most people most people are just like, I'm just here for the kids. They only care about their mate. And that's what, you have a mate first. Screw the kids. The mate comes first. The kids are an overflow of that love. And even then you have to consider if you want to bring them into such a time. I choose not to, because I don't choose to bring them into hell. And my mate and I have an overflow of love. And, that's, I think, what people don't understand or get confused by. When you have real love and an overflow of love, you have an abundance of love. And you can help others as well. But the concept being is you have an argument, and people used to stay around and discuss things and work things out and have misunderstandings, or get angry and this and that, but they'd stick around, and you'd see them there day 2, day 3, year 1, year 2, year 3. People worked on things. They understood that they were working together on things, and that's a real team. Now, unless you have some total off-balance thing, but most of these things are not. And sure enough, they'd stick around and work. This love and light movement, most of the people in it, I found out a lot of them are basically single, or they've been through like shitloads of relationships, like way too many. And you're like, dude, you're love and light, and they're acting like they're all honor, loyalty, and integrity, and they're the ones that's been through like 20 to 40 relationships. How many people have you slept with? Oh, at least 20, at least 30, at least 50. I mean, they're the ones who have the 100+ team. So much for love and light and true stuff. And then you find out from their previous people, they're a train wreck. Like, all of a sudden, they just one day had an argument about something simple, and all of a sudden the person was like, namaste, bye-bye, and just leaves. Or, may the goddess bless you, may your feet touch the ground, and use all these hashtags they've learned from, like, Thich Nhat Hanh or someone, not their own words. And they just use these things and toss them so flippantly and just leave. And then they actually leave and close the door forever. Like, you could have an argument about what was cooking for dinner, and you got into some argument or whatever, and you just, a petty argument, about something, and they'll be out the door. And bye-bye, next. And they're the ones with the train wrecks. So this whole love and light movement has some of the people with the most train wrecks masquerading under being good people, because every time they have a problem, they just kiss it goodbye and namaste and this and that, and doing all this stuff. This is what I mean about the pseudo love and light movement. It's caused people to be careless. It's caused people to be completely careless and to be able to treat people like shit and then namaste it away and think they're okay. And then they actually lose their conscience. They lose their conscience as a result. Instead of a previous day and age before you had all this love and light movement, they would sit and dwell on it and be upset and would have to make peace on a matter. Especially a family matter, but they'd have to make peace on a matter. They couldn't stay with that type of discord in their life. Now, with the love and light movement, combined perhaps with drugs, alcohol, whatever addict they are, which often, comes hand in hand, because otherwise they'd have to be responsible or act because their conscience would guide them. Instead, every time they get low, so-called low, meaning their conscience starts speaking, or they get sad, meaning their conscience starts speaking, they automatically self-medicate. Well, that's kind of a lost person. You'll never be able to reach that person as long as they're a self-medicator. And really it comes to, are you willing to give up your drugs and have a real relationship, with people, or are you going to just be a druggie and hang out with other druggies? And largely there's going to be a druggie with their other druggie friends because it's too painful for them not to self-medicate all the time, because they've lost touch with real life. And as a sense, the feelings that they have are largely just false highs. And then when they get lows, which aren't lows, which are just normal, they can't handle them. So, basically, they don't stick around anymore. And that's what people said. People asked, how did you guys stay married for so long? How did you guys have, marriages in the past? How did your marriages last so long? And sure enough, what did the older people say? We lived in a time where we stayed around and made things work. Meaning, when you have an argument, you don't walk out the door and never show back up. Even if you did walk out the door for a sec out of, anger or something, you come back that night, you work on it, you figure things out. That's a real relationship. As long as two people are willing to work on things in a relationship, you have understanding in a relationship. I'm not talking about, bullshit stuff, I'm talking about real relationships, and, this love and light stuff has just allowed people to be completely irresponsible. It's just another crutch. And sure enough, like I said, these people get in a fight. These people see anger expressed at them for a real reason, like they're a druggie or they're an addict and they're told they are, or they wronged you. They're warm 1 minute with you, and all of a sudden they have some weird bipolar upset or rage because they start just getting weird in their head, or they're off their drugs too long and they can't handle it, so they start to have a koala breakdown. And then you get angry with them for it, and you tell them, you tell them firmly why you're angry, and that's it, and they can't handle it, they're out. And when you look at it and you say, well, why are these people out? What really happened? And what's the real problem? Oh, you were told some truths you didn't want to hear, and you find out that, they don't have a conscience. They probably drug themselves up over and over, and then they either reprogram their memories, or they just drug themselves up and decide, fuck being responsible. So, and then they'll say namaste, and I'll just send you a blessing from afar, rather than making peace on a matter, which is what people used to do, which is the actual work. People that run and don't do the work, people that leave train wrecks behind them, they're not good people. They can't be called good people. They're not willing to do the work when it comes time to do work. Work is hard. Work is effort. Work means you might be out of your comfort zone. Work means you might feel exhausted. Work means you might cry more than you've ever cried before. But if you stick around, then you might learn a lot more than you've ever learned before too. You might cry a lot more than you ever cried before. You might sweat a lot more than you've ever sweat before. But guess what? You'll get the benefits if you stick around. Everyone knows the difference between a situation where someone is teaching, where someone's actually helping them. Like if you have someone that's helped you out for years and years and years, who's the one who's been through your dark time, who's the one that's been the one staying up all night long, even to the point of hurting their eyes, to send you knowledge to help you with your life, and who is willing to tell you the things that you probably don't want to hear because you've just had enablers around you who have become responsible for this life you lead of drugs and partying and alcohol and all this bullshit. They're responsible for that. You weren't even a part of it. You were the one walking the path of truth. And then you come in and say that this person's a wreck, and you're trying to heal them. It's just ridiculous. Of course, you can tell by the way I'm speaking, this is the experience I've had. And it's completely just absolutely wrong. And it's completely lacking in integrity and honor and loyalty. Yet this person believes, I believe that they actually truly believe that they have integrity, honor, and loyalty, when really they're one of the lowest forms of scum in their actions in many cases. And they just keep running thing to thing to thing, and they keep shouting namaste behind them as if that's going to clean up their mess. That's not going to clean up your mess. It's not going to clean up your mess to shout namaste. It's not going to clean up your mess to do a prayer. It's not going to clean up your mess to smudge an area. All that's going to clean up your mess is you sticking around and cleaning it up and having actual honor, loyalty, and integrity, and doing right where you should. And everyone knows where they should do right. Everyone knows someone who's had their back. Everyone knows, how to do right. Everyone knows how to support their family, etc. Everyone knows who's actually a good person or not when they actually sit and analyze. They know it. It doesn't matter if they want to believe it or not. It doesn't matter if they got angry and they actually had to face something. Everyone knows who calls them to be transformed. Everyone at some root point knows. And if you can keep sober-minded enough and not drugged up enough, maybe you can be around and actually figure that out and pick that up in life. So, anyways, that's my notes. I'll probably make it into something else, but that's my notes about the Love and Light movement. Hopefully it recorded properly, and it's just about how it's been basically used to make people be irresponsible, ultimately. People that would normally have stayed and cleaned things up in a different society if they had non-Love and Light teaching, things that would normally be healed and understood, things that would normally be worked out and actually done. Instead, people now just, toss a namaste at it. They toss a Love and Light thing, toss a Mother Earth, kiss your feet, as they fuck you over thing. It's now caused people to still think they're good and run to Love and Light and just toss all these things rather than actually sitting and cleaning things up, because that's dark. It's dark to stick around after an argument and clean it up. You had an argument. Clean it up. Work it out. Stick it out. If one side who isn't even as responsible is trying to make peace and saying, hey, we need to make peace, this and that, and being rational, you need to sit yourself down and be rational too and work to make peace in life. You can't call yourself a good person if you're hard-hearted as fuck and you're the one holding grudges and, yep, when someone pisses me off, I never talk to them again. That's not Love and Light. Okay, that's not Love and Light. That's someone who's actually an asshole who refuses to stick around whenever anything negative comes or whenever anything pressing or challenging to them comes. Because a lot of times what Love and Light people think is negative isn't negative at all. Me telling someone you're a drug addict, no one's ever told you this, you're high, you need to stop your drugs, well, they're going to want to kill you. They'll find that negative. You're negative as fuck. You don't want to get high with me. My other friends get high with me and they think it's awesome. We just get high as a kite. Yeah, you guys are irresponsible. You guys just sit and fucking get high all the time. And you guys just sit all together and fucking have these false bonds from getting high all the time. And then without your drugs, you're assholes. How good does that make you? What when your drug supply runs out? How do you handle life? You know, it was never meant to be used that way. That was a spiritual thing. You're sacrilegious. You're desecrating the spiritual thing, doing it in such a manner all the time, like an addict, because that is an addict. You know, it's just unbelievable, and when you tell someone the truth of what they are, you tell them, hey, you've basically been a man-hater all your life. You hate men. You don't trust them. You associate all men with your dad, or you associate all women with your mom, and they're treating you like shit, basically, and, they don't even understand that their mode is treating you like shit. You know what I mean? Like, one day they're all hugging and all love you and all this, and then the next day all of a sudden they're all cold and like, you know what? All men are, they're just like crazy. They have these highs and lows and they don't even think about how they're making you feel. Or they think about how they're making you feel and they're like, hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But then they get high and all of a sudden they're back to, you're an asshole. Like, it's just unbelievable, Or they can't handle it because a male actually speaks up and says, this is bullshit, you're associating everything with your dad, or you're associating everything with your drugs, you just get drugs, you forget everything, you forget the way things happened, you told lies about me, you're drugged up high, and they get mad because you actually told them how it is. Well, you have to be able to take the truth. If you can't handle negativity, you can't handle life. And that's how it works, because life is both negative and positive. You want to try to tap out half your life, you want to try to tap out half the experience, you want to try to make it all joyful. That's not life. Life is not all happiness. I don't know how many times that has to be programmed into your heads, children, but life is not all happiness. The meaning of life isn't happiness. The meaning of life is to give life meaning. That's number one. The meaning of life is completion, to be complete, to understand light, to understand dark, to understand the benefits of light and darkness. I have another video that I've either put it up or I will put it up, and it's the real story of the two wolves. And this is exactly what I mean about this love and light movement spinning everything around. They have this modern story of the two wolves that's about, whatever you feed is what happens. If you feed negativity, you'll be negative. If you feed positivity, you'll be positive. Run from the negative, only the positive. Only bright lights, run from the darkness. Well, you'll never go to the depths then, because the depths are dark. The depths are dark. The shallows are light. So you'll never get anything out of that if that's all you do. There's so many things to be found in the depths. There's so many things to be found in the darkness. In fact, the greatest jewels of all are found hidden in the deepest parts of the earth. So what does that tell you? You have to go to the depths for real life. And I'm going to tell you, the depths aren't fun. You have to get adjusted. You have to stay there for a while for your eyes to get adjusted. You'll probably feel lost for a time. But if you stay there long enough, you'll actually gain familiarity with there, and that place will become like home. And if you're looking for home and you're feeling lost, then you need to stay there and you need to stay in the depths. Because life, like I said, life isn't about being positive all the time. And life isn't about being negative all the time. Life is about balance. And what that means is when good things come along and there's good moments, you enjoy them and you try to enjoy them fully. Not augmented, not with drugs. Like, woo, that's not real life. That's augmentation. That's supposed to be for spiritual purposes only from time to time, like once a month. It is not a daily thing. It is not a weekly thing. Unless you're actually healing your body or something. Cannabis oil, it's different than just smoking a thing and getting high, It's not a thing to loosen up for sex and all this bullshit, especially just with, random people, it's not meant to be that way. It's a spiritual tool. You need to be here in life. You need to figure out what's up. You need to feel your body without augmentation. You need to, you need to know how you feel. You need to understand what it is to feel negative and what it is to feel positive, and you need to understand why you're feeling negative and positive, and you need to be able to handle highs and lows, because they come throughout life. We have a pulse. That pulse goes up and down. It's ebbing and flowing and stuff. And it's all natural. I'm not going to be happy when someone I love dies, and I shouldn't be, and I'm not going to try to make myself be happy. If I want to be depressed for years because of it, I will. It's whatever the natural flow is in the morning, in the moment. And that's natural. I don't make someone be a certain way. I'm just there for them. Of course, unless, they're a drug addict or something else where they're on an evil path, that's different. I'm talking about natural things. And You know, you have to embrace both. You know, if you're not going to be happy all the time. Sadness will come in. You pricked your finger. You're not supposed to be happy about it. You know, your child burned their hand. You're supposed to be pissed off and enraged about, like, fuck, you know? Like, what the hell, you know, this or that. Your kid got raped, you know, then it's going to be a mix of anger and hatred of the thing that got raped and also to your child. How did this happen? And if you find out they're at bars getting drunk and high, then you're angry at them too. Because they're fucking up their life, you know? It's all balance, you know? We have all emotions for a reason. We need to be complete. You know, if you want to be complete and you want to find home, you're not going to find it just surfing the shallows. You're not. You need to be able to go to the depths. If you ever want to get in touch with yourself, if you ever want to find true meaning in your life, if you ever want to be able to meet your greatest potential, it's going to start with you having to be brave enough to take the leap. And you're going to take the leap and you're going to fall into the abyss. And in the abyss, you're going to find the gem that's you. But only if you go all the way down and only if you endure the fall of actually falling through all your preconceived notions, all your hatred, all your upset, all your fear, and you need to integrate yourself as a complete person and understand all of them have a purpose. All of them have a purpose. All of them can get out of balance, yes, but all of them have a purpose. And if you're just channeling one side of the spectrum, you're just channeling one side of yourself, you'll never go any further than that. You'll never have real balance. You'll be falsely balanced on the positive, and that's not a good thing at all. That's almost more dangerous than being falsely balanced on the negative, truly. You'll actually gain less insight with that. You'll actually get to the other side, the most shallow of all. You know, and the point being is, and you're going to take a big hit, because, you know, things will be integrated one way or another, whether you like it or not. You know, it's best to do the work here. You know, so that you can survive the work there, you know, rather than being bombed all at once by it. One more thing. The story of the two wolves. The modern story talks about you know, you just feed the one you want, feed positive or negative. The ancient story and the old story, and ironically, I had only learned this just recently and stuff from an actual Native American who was like, you have the complete story wrong. She's like, I'm actually living in the tribe and stuff, and all the chiefs know this, all of the Native American tribes know this. I have no idea why it's like that, and sure enough, I researched it, it's absolutely true. Of course, you know, I think they know it, they live on the fucking, you know, reservations and stuff. You know, sure enough, she's like, they just spun it. That's a love and light thing. They spun that. She's like, the real story is that you feed them both, because you need them both, because in the depths and what are called negative are tenacity and, you know, the courage to fight back. You know, and I mean, one of the main things to say, though, is if you do not embrace both sides and you are only positive, you will always be a slave. If you can't embrace your anger and understand what purpose it has and when it comes in and stuff, and you're only positive, you will always be just ripe for slavery, and you'll always be a slave, even to yourself, because you can't be a full, complete person. You know, that makes just for a good slave, which is why that's taught. Why do you think the masters talk about being positive all the time? Why do you think the controllers talk about having to have a smile on your face all the time? Why do you think they talk about ways to quickly soothe your pain? Get a new animal as soon as you lose the one. Oh, just remarry. Oh, just don't worry about this. Oh, watch this TV show. Do this, do that. Take drugs. Please take drugs. Please get high. Please have lots of kids. Whatever gets you to the next point. And that's why you have all these people, all these women now these days, where they can't even find a real relationship, but their main thing is about having kids. And they're like, well, I'm definitely going to have kids. Yeah, I'm going to have kids. Well, what about your mate? Well, I don't know. Whatever. I just need kids. No, you need to have a relationship with your mate. And then you discover whether or not your mate can even have kids and whatnot. And if you would leave that person because they can't have kids, for instance, and stuff like that, you're an asshole. You're not focused on the relationship. You're just focused on kids. Someone like you shouldn't have kids. You need to just be in a relationship with who you really love. And then from there, you can work on having kids or not. But if they can't conceive, you're still with them. That's who you want to be with. That's the main event. Not the overshot. Kids are usually just for people that are sad and upset and don't want to clean up their lives and just want kids to go to the next event so that they have things to feed on and things to get them to the next point so that they can spend 20 years with kids. No, you need to get your life straight. You need to get your relationship straight, because that's what teaches your kids. If you don't have a real relationship, that's all your kids are going to see. You know, so, you know, there's so much more to say about this. I've already been talking for like 40 minutes. So I'm all done, but that's the concept that I wanted to say. Okay, all done.